Outside of picking the wing fullback guns, the whole position's fairly tough in general. We're very much hoping that Iongi makes it at 350k, which everyone knows about at this stage. But the rest of the picks in this mid-range and in the cheapies, there's guys that could do well, but it's not certain. You know, you've got guys that are out there at the moment in the halves, Sandon Smith, these types of guys that are pretty certain to do well enough to make money in your side. But the wing fullbacks, just in their nature, they do rely a bit more on the attacking stats, and that's where it is hard to see it working out perfectly. There aren't any centers or wings at the moment that are locked into their positions, and that will probably come out over the next couple of weeks. And then once obviously trials and then the team list come out for Vegas, we'll get a little bit of an idea on those teams, and then we can obviously wait until the secondary team list to find out more on those guys. But in the meantime, let's learn about all of the options and the potential options that we do have. If you haven't hit subscribe, boys and girls, I would really appreciate that on YouTube. And obviously, if you haven't checked out the podcast as well, I'd love for you to follow that. They are all coming out a little bit earlier than the YouTube videos in the preseason. Nicoll-Klokstad, 44.5 is his average, 594k. He scored 41 in their best season, which is wild that he actually scored more points at 44.5 in 2024 compared to when they made the top 4 last year. So that is a little bit worrying in itself. Again, he hasn't gone over a 50 average, so it's hard to buy at this stage. You know, there were times last year we looked like he was a bit stiff and sore and wasn't running with his complete vigor that he had been, last year even. But a lot of times it was more on the attacking try assist side, or he was the second to last parts, which was actually rewarded more and is rewarded more in Supercoach compared to that in fantasy as well. And guys like Sean Johnson took over a lot of that, and he was incredible on the running side of the ball last year. So I don't think we can pick him. He started beautifully last year in round 5 and 6, but we know that wing fullback isn't a position that absolutely dominates from the start generally, unless you were Latrell last year. He had a really good first couple of games and then did fall off when Ponga started going well. Hammer, 589k for him in that wing fullback position only. And guys, you'll see here where I did the price reaction and stuff. I did that for the top 10 scorers or so from each position. I just thought that was a cool way to do it with the top average guys to see if they're worth it to start the year when we know their roles. Whereas a lot of the other guys in this mid-range, we don't know exactly their role or what we're going to get out of them. So that's why I did that anyway. But I had Hammer at 8 and 8 for consistency and confidence. I think he definitely has 40% chance of 50 plus upside, but he has plenty of downside too with 20s and 30s in his game. So 42 to 47 is the expectation out of him, and he needs to step up for the team to do really well. So he averages 46.7 in full games. He just hasn't hit that next step yet. He has too many 30s where he isn't scoring the tries, plus the team for now is an average side, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if he can do it, but I am expecting that 45 to 48 type of average this year and a small increase, but maybe not the 50 plus increase that we do need and that we do get from some of the other guys. He doesn't kick the footy from the back there, like we spoke about with Ponga, Drinky, Latrell, these types of guys. He doesn't have the goal kicking. So they're two really important steps that can get you closer to an extra 10 points of value, and is why the other guys are sitting closer to 50 and 55 and obviously 60 with Latrell, is because of stats like that. A lot of the time, guys like Hammer, he has a really nice try scoring rate, but because you don't have that extra stuff, that's where it hurts you. Guys like Ponga get the offloads, they get the extra tackle breaks, the big run meters, doesn't seem to score as many tries, but he has the goal kicking, has the kicking in general play, and if he scored the tries, he'd be a 60 plus guy. So there is levels to it for sure. Fletcher Sharpe, he hit a 44.2 average between fullback and wing. He had 2 games of 4 and 3 tries though, so that's my big worry with Fletcher, and it's likely that he isn't going to be on that wing and won't be it's not training at 6 and for anything longer than a session or that opposed session, because Barry Tui said so. When they said, is Fletcher Sharpe playing 6 this year? And he goes, very unlikely. But Fletcher's super talented. This was all in the second half of the year as well, which is something I think is really important. He hadn't played the whole season in first grade, so it's going to be a lot easier for him to come in and be a bit fresher, dominate from ball one, rather than having to go through and deal with all the niggles and everything that you do pick up in the first half of the year to then go really well in the back. He avoided that, and therefore he could do really well, and that's why they went to him so often, because it looked like Greg Marzhew was busted and Fletcher was fit and firing and ready to go and was scoring tries along with Gagai on that right-hand side. So I thought that was pretty interesting for sure. I think he's likely wing and to watch, in my opinion, given he scored a lot of tries, but he still only beat that 41.2 because he scored well at fullback as well. He only beat it by 3 points. Ryan Papenhuyzen, my favourite man. I love him. But is it going to be worth it for us in NRL Fantasy? When you look at his scores, and something you need to focus on before you do look at the scores is the goal kicking, which he doesn't have anymore. Nick Meaney owns that one, unfortunately. So when you're looking at these averages, in 2020, it was 49, which is 9.5 points above what he's priced at. He's got the 58 average in 2021, and he also has the 52.4 average in 2022 when he got over 30 minutes. So he obviously missed some time in that one there. They're really nice averages, and you look at those and you go, well, of course I'd want to start with Pap. But there are definitely some worries as well. He did start to get his footy life back together in the finals. I thought he looked really, really good. But before that, he didn't look that great. He looked okay. What we do need to note, though, is in those finals games, he went 32, 52, and then a 20 against the Panthers. And in that 52, it included 2 tries and 3 line breaks. So that is some wild stats right there. It's 16 points in tries. It is 12 points in line breaks. So 28 points just in attack before you take it into account tackle breaks, run meters, and all that good stuff as well. So that's the worrying sign, is when I did go back and look at those finals games, he looked like he played incredible, and he did, but it didn't translate to fantasy, and that hasn't since 2022, unfortunately. So with the injuries as well, is something we do have to worry about. He doesn't look himself as yet for longer stretches of time, which he did in those 3 years prior. I really hope he does. I really hope he gets back to that spot, but I do think it's easy to watch his score in round 1. Very similar to that with Munster. You could watch him coming off injury as well. But we do know that Munster doesn't have to rely on goal kicking to get those extra, 6, 8, 10 points sometimes for the Storm. It just feels like Munster is a little bit safer. He's slightly more expensive, obviously in a less tough position. So that's something you need to think about as well. The wing fullback seems a lot tougher. But we know that halfback and these types of positions are safer. And we know Munster has 60 upside, which Papenhuyzen hasn't hit yet as well. So that's something to think about. With Ryan, those numbers excite me for sure, but no goal kicking and injuries by round 2. There's a few things to just, I suppose, push you to hold off for now. But if you do it, I think it can work out well. But Jahream Bula with a 525k price point, 38 average last year. He had the same average in 2023 when he had an incredible 6-week stretch where he absolutely crushed it. He hit 50 plus in 5 out of the 6 games or 4 out of the 6 games there, which was awesome. Doing it on his back as well, on his own back. And then, expect the Tigers to be better and obviously for Bula to improve off the back of that, because I don't think he took the jump from rookie season to last year, which probably means that this is the season that it does come. As the team starts to improve, he's got a gun half that can help him out and get him in the right positions as well. I just don't know if it's enough to improve to a 45 plus guy yet. Maybe at the end of the season for Bula at this stage. I do expect probably about a 41 average early, which is a little bit of value, but not enough to be of too much note for you and get you too excited, I don't think. Jermaine Isaako, next up on the list, at 510k, 38.2 average last year, and we do compare this to the year before. If you've been playing for 2 years now, you saw Isaako jump out of the ground in 2023. And before that, he was never a really, really good fantasy scorer. He'd have sections of time where he'd do okay, but he never got near that 50, and it was 12 points more than the year just gone. When you're comparing the 2 years, in 2023, he went 1 try per game, 1.3 line breaks, 4.3 tackle breaks, and 166 meters. All incredible numbers. Very hard to replicate, and it's exactly what we saw in 2024 with 0.5 tries per game, 0.8 line breaks, 3 tackle breaks, and 139 meters. So all of them went down by half there. So half the tries, which is pretty crazy. It's 4 points a game. that he was losing there. Is that correct? Yeah, 4 points a game. And then half a line break, so 2 points on that one there. Gives him 6 points that he's lost. Then 1.3 tackle breaks, equates to 2.6. So you're adding up here, it's getting close to 7. And then he lost almost 30 metres as well. So there's 10 points right there, and it's all come from the attacking side. So if you think that Isaako can go a try a game and get into the 20s again, then sure, he could average 50. Does he end up in a position where he gets 0.7 or 0.8 tries a game? Yeah, potentially. It'll probably put him towards a 42, 43 type of average, which is actually what I am expecting. A little bit of a bounce back, but he could easily just be a 38 guy again. It's just a pretty decent drop for a team that will continue to improve. The worries are there without Wayne for sure, but I think that they will, and he will have a pretty solid start to the year. Thinking there's a little bit more room to get closer to 2023 stats, which were pretty high, in my opinion there. So that's Isaako, not super exciting, but an okay option. Connor Tracey, I was a little bit excited to have a look at. Once I saw the only average 37, I was like, surely there's something here. And I'm not sure if there is, to be blunt. 39.7 average he has across his fullback career, which actually you saw in 2023 was where he had the really good stats. It was good hitting 44.4 at the Sharks in 5 games, which did include 2 tries, but the tackle breaks and the meters gain were actually up. Last year, he went 3.4 tackle breaks. The year before with Sharks, he went 5.6. Meters went from 185 last year, back from 200 the year before. So obviously the few more running meters should mean a little bit more on the tackle break side. But we didn't see it as much at the Bulldogs, even with them having a really good season. Now, the good side of it is you could imagine that the Dogs do improve, and then Connor Tracey has an opportunity to get more attacking stats. And when you're looking at the attacking stats, he had 0.3 tries, 0.7 assists, the 185 metres and the 3.4 tackle breaks. So both the tries and the assists could potentially increase a little bit. I think definitely the tries section, the assists is probably a little bit harder. And that's where it's like, oh, how much room has he got to grow? When we looked at Ponga, it was a 0.2 try rate, which is obviously really, really low. And with Connor Tracey, another thing to kind of note there is that he did only play his first fullback game for the Dogs in round 7. So he hasn't had the off-season and the preseason that we actually really want. So I think that it does feel easy to say that he can average 40 plus after his first full preseason at fullback at the Dogs. That's where the exciting part is. I think he can take his game to the next level. He's a very impressive player, but is it 41, 42? I'm expecting 40 to 44 type of things, type of level for sure, with some improvement in tackle breaks and potentially the tries there. But I was hoping for more, that I could see more in my analysis that would look closer to 2023 or the ability to get there. And I'm just not seeing it as much, but I definitely see an improvement by 3 to 5 points with Tracey. And if you're a Dogs fan, it could be fun to own him for sure. Jahream Skelton. He's at 500k, he averaged 39.3 last year, and they've priced him down at 37.5, which is ideal, but he's only played 6 games, and that's across 2 years. So you would have hoped that maybe there was a little bit more discount, and then people might want to jump on him. But he has a 38 average across the 6 games, so very, very similar across the 2 years, basically, with 3 tries, so 50% try scoring rate, 3.5 tackle breaks, and 202 meters in those 2 years. So those numbers there are really, really good on the base side. And if you are looking at Skelton, I think that's where people are looking at him for Supercoach, because you get, if he runs over 8 meters, he gets the 2 points. And if you're having lots of runs, that's where it really adds up. And then if he's going to score tries, like he is that type of player, then it is really helpful for Supercoach. In fantasy, he's had 6 really good games, 3 of them definitely, and still only has hit an average of 38 across those 6 games. So that's the worry at this early stage of his career. And now moving to Tigers, who might not be, unlikely to be as good as what the Dogs were last year. So can they give him good footy? I'm just not sure. The base stats will keep him solid, but I think he probably needs a little bit of time to build to a 45 guy, which might happen at some point this season, but I don't know if it's going to be from game 1. And he only has a 56 top score so far. With those really good run meters and the try, you think that hopefully he could get above that, but not as yet. If he doesn't score tries, he's going to sit in the 20s and 30s with that base, which isn't terrible, but you're paying 500k for him, and you want there to be that high upside in him, which I think is going to be fun, but how quickly can he get to being really fun? All right, we've got 3 players left, and they're pretty important in Brimson, in Greg Marzhew, and then we do have Blaze Talagi as well. And guys, if you are interested in my wing fullback rankings and my strategy as to how I'm going to play the wing fullback position and all of the positions, if you want to see my team early, I'll be posting it tomorrow, actually, or today. It would have already been posted in the private group once you've seen this one. And so yeah, do consider that and jump in the description to check all the information out on that. You'll see all that. There's plenty of prizes up for grabs, help from everyone, and all those rankings, as I said. So big thank you for watching. If you don't want to join the private group, that's sweet. Thank you so much for being here in these videos and the podcast. Brimo, 482k. He is priced very average, which is good. The analysis is going to be for if he plays at 6. I've only analysed that. He won't be at fullback, and if he does, like if Kenny gets injured or something, we'll talk about it then. But at the moment, there's talk of him playing 6. If he's not there, it could be centre or it could be bench. So it's a complete no if it's any of those. But if it's at 6, there's something to talk about. He averages 42.5 at 6 for his career, which includes a lot of games over a lot of years and a while ago. So we do have to take out a fair few of those games, and we will do that now. With last year, he had 2 games for 53.5 average. He had a try in one of the games. He had one line break in each of the games. He had 20 tackles per game, 6 tackle breaks, 114 meters and 113 kick meters. So that is some fun stats, that's for sure, if he was to be playing in the 6th position. In 2022, so he didn't play it in 23, but in 22, he hit a 47.2 average, which gives him 11.1 points of potential value. And that was actually in 15 games at 6, which is awesome news. And he did score every second game as well. He almost had 1 assist per game at 0.9. He had 19 tackles per game, so that's very consistent across those 2 years. He had 96 meters, which is a little bit down on last year in a bigger sample size. He had the 3.3 tackle breaks, which is a bit less, but that's where the extra 6 points has come from, and the 100 kick meters per game. So you can expect 3 or so points in kicks. He's still going to run the footy. He's going to score tries. He's going to have assists if he does play that 6th position. So that's where my interest in Brimson comes. He's an absolute gun footballer, but he has a ridiculously extensive injury history and a bye round 1. So they're the 2 big no's. But the round 1 bye doesn't have to be a negative. It can be a helpful thing. Because personally, I think he seems like a great punt as a looper in round 1, if the opportunity does arise to have a looper. And what you'll see in tonight's video is I do pop him in the team reveal video, which is going to be centered around the top guys in hooker, mid, edge, spending up some cash there and having a couple of mid-rangers that you'll see from this video. And Brimson, I'm going to just explain how you could use him as a loop with Greg Marzhew, for example, who does play early enough in the week, and you could muck around with that. So he could definitely be worth the risk, but there's heaps of issues, obviously. There's just not a lot of guys that can have 10 plus points of value. So when there is, you do need to stand up and have a think about it. Greg Marzhew, 36 was his average last year. Pretty gross. Pretty gross for a guy that, averaged 53.4 last year. In 2022, he was 39.4, so 3.5 up. 41.3 in 2023, so 5 and a bit up. In 2022, so 21, 22, 23, and then last year was 36. So 53.4 in 2023 was great. It is hard to see him not beat last year's 36 average, to be fair. When you're comparing the years, you've got 0.8, 0.6, 1 try per game, and then 0.3 tries last year. So that feels like a big anomaly and should be rectified, to be honest with you. He was 3 tackle breaks lower in 2024, but he was at 8.5 tackle breaks a game, down to 5.5. So I don't think we can see much of an increase in that safely. And yeah, we can't expect that too much. I do think it's easy to predict Greg going over 40. He also had a few games where he didn't look himself. He had leg issues, cramps, whatever was going on. We thought it was an injury, a quad cork. Like there's a bunch of things going on in certain games. I just think it's a fairly safe pick to hit his sort of 36 floor with 40 plus upside based on those previous seasons. Like if it was a 39 or a 41, you wouldn't hate it. If he stayed on the park and got the odd good game and then you potentially were able to move him on, averaging 41, You can get him to 550k or something like that. It's not the worst starting pick in the world for a tough position. He's an interesting pick for sure, and I think some people will go for it, given it's under 500k. It's not going to break the bank. It'll help you in certain games. He'll go big, and he has 53 upside, which not many people do. Not many people have 17 points of potential upside. Yes, I think 5 is probably realistic. 10, getting into 46, I think is not a far cry. It's probably like a 20 to 25% chance that he goes 45 plus. 15% chance of getting anywhere near high 40s, and maybe a 5% chance of going 50 plus at the moment is my thoughts. And I think a 40 is probably like a 60 to 70% chance at this point if we're putting percentages to it. So a fun pick. Can be annoying at times, but can be incredible at times, and especially if Ponga goes left again like he did. Loves that right to left pass. And if Best can help him out as well, that's something. I did look at the stats for Best, for Greg without Best and with. It was decent, like we kind of spoke about in the Best video, I believe. Decent, well, better last year with Best. He was pretty average outside of that. And then 2023, it didn't really matter. So, yeah, not sure if that's reliable intel, because Best can get ball and just take it himself anyway sometimes. And then Blaze Talagi to finish this one off at 34.3 average, 458k. There's a little bit of chat around him that they won't rush him back. He's had some injury issues in the off season. He did have a 33 average at center and a 26.5 average at 6. So just those two numbers alone, yes, they're at the Eels that weren't going that well. But he does move to the Panthers, and we don't know how he's going to play. Are we going to see him in a trial? Are we going to see Jack Cole in the team? You'll see tonight in that video as well. I've popped Jack Cole on the side, considering there's chatter from Ivan that they might not rush Talagi back. He's young, he's got plenty of time to develop, all that kind of stuff. And how good was Ricky talking horse up? That was good fun. But I think with Talagi, if you were to pick him in round 1, it would be on hope that he does well at the Panthers and not, you're just kind of guessing a little bit at this stage. And I think he's really easy watch to start the year because he's an awkward price as well. Limited preseason, awkward price at 458. We aren't sure what he's going to be like at 6 when you've got a completely dominant best player in the game, Cleary, next to him on the other side. So I think we leave Talagi to start, but if you want to go for him because you love him or whatever, then sweet, go for that as well. I don't think you'll lose out, but I'm just not sure if he has the tremendous upside into the 40 range that we probably want. So at the moment, that is my wing fullback rankings and strategy. Sorry, if you do want the rankings and strategy, jump in the private group. At the moment, that is my analysis on all those guys, and come back for the video tomorrow morning on the wing fullback cash cows. I can't wait for that, and we'll see you in the next one.